Side Hustle Show 91, Rapid Product Creation, Amazon Launch Tactics, and Turning a Book into a Business.
Welcome to the Side Hustle Show, where aspiring part-time entrepreneurs learn how to turn their side hustle dreams into reality. Because your 9 to 5 may make you a living, but your 5 to 9 makes you alive. And now, your host, Nick Loper.
What's going on? Nick Loper here. Welcome to the Side Hustle Show. This is episode 91, Rapid Product Creation, Amazon Launch Tactics, and How to Turn a Book into a Business. I'm excited to welcome Chandler Bolt back to the program. Chandler is somebody who helped me immensely during my book launch, and he was previously on the show in episode 55 talking about productivity hacks for side hustlers. He's a two-time Amazon best-selling author, first with The Productive Person, that was the one we were talking about on the last podcast he was on. More recently with Productivity Hacks for Entrepreneurs, which was also a good read. I got some little tips and stuff to try out of that one. And his latest book is called Book Launch, and I just finished it last weekend, and it really is an excellent step-by-step guide to creating your work and publishing it on Amazon. I thought it was well worth it. Even as a quote experienced author, I still learned some things, so I encourage you to check that one out as well. Chandler's also the co-founder of Self-Publishing School, self-publishingschool.com, which is a premium training resource community for aspiring authors. And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of this episode. But I'll put a link to that and all of Chandler's books, plus a link to our first episode in the show notes. Plus, while you're over there, I've got a free downloadable PDF for you with all my notes and highlights from this conversation with Chandler. And you can download that at sidehustlenation.com/91 or through the link in the episode description of your podcast player app. News and updates before we get into it. The nation has spoken. The results of my first annual member survey are in. And one thing people said would be compelling was a public coaching effort, something I've never done before, taking one side hustler and helping them build their business from scratch and sharing the progress along the way, the ups and downs and the successes and failures and all that stuff. Now, the challenge there is I need a victim. I need a volunteer. And it could be you. Why not you? Hit up sidehustlenation.com/apply to watch my little video explanation and learn a little bit more about that opportunity. Free year of side hustle coaching and support. So I think that could be a really fun project to participate in and to share going forward. So looking forward to the applications that come back on that. I encourage you to apply if you think that would be a good project, a good fit. And also in response to those survey results, I did create a Facebook group for Side Hustle Nation. If you go to sidehustlenation.com/FB, you'll get redirected over there. It's a closed group, so you request to join and I'll approve you and you can jump in. Great place to meet other members of the community, share ideas, ask questions, get feedback, all that jazz. sidehustlenation.com/FB. All right, let's do this. Hey, Chandler, welcome back to the Side Hustle Show.
Thanks, man. It's great to be back on. I'm really excited about this.
One of very few repeat guests. It's a privileged position to be in. And I know I've talked about this on the show before when I was breaking down my book launch in episode 58, but now is I want to take the opportunity to publicly thank you for your help on the Work Smarter book launch. So for everyone listening, Chandler took it upon himself to call me up, middle of launch week. And so even though there was a lot of stuff that was already in motion, he gave me a handful of tips and kind of asked some pointed questions like, well, what keywords are you targeting? And I was like, keywords? What do you mean keywords? Like, this is a book. This is not a niche site. I don't care about keywords and stuff like that. He gave me the hack of cutting off the KDP free promo in the middle of the day, all sorts of stuff. So I believe that had a big impact on the sales for the remainder of that weekend and kind of climbing the paid charts after that free launch. So Chandler, thank you so much for your help with that. You are the book launch king, and so excited to get into this stuff today. But for everybody out there, I'm obviously a big fan of Kindle publishing as you are, But if I don't have, if I've never done it before, what's the first step? How do I figure out what to write about?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. And I do want to say I was happy to help. And you're not too shabby on the book stuff yourself. Your book really crushed it. And I was happy to just say thanks for having me on the show. And I'm glad we got to talk because your book killed it, man. So you're being humble, but your book really knocked it out of the park. So you know a little bit more than you're letting on to. But you're talking about finding book ideas. I feel like that's one of the big objections that comes up in people's heads when they're thinking about writing a book, because obviously if they've listened to your show and they've heard how much success books have brought for you, it's at least came into their head and maybe they're thinking about it. But a lot of people are like, well, I don't know what to write about, or I don't have enough content to write a book about, stuff like that. And what we've found is really we have kind of like, I can go over this if you want me to, but it's like a 3-step process. And like there's this one little piece in the very beginning that like really helps take that. If you think you don't have an idea, it can kind of bring that idea out and then help you flesh it out full on into a book.
Let's hear it. I mean, I've got book ideas, half-written drafts clogging on my hard drive for days. But if I'm not in that boat, let's hear this 3-step formula. That sounds good. That sounds juicy.
It's interesting. You say like, I feel like people are either one of the two boats. They have no clue what they're going to write about, or like you and like, I just had lunch with Pat Flynn earlier today, and we're talking about his next book, and he's like,
name dropping.
Oh yeah. This is my first ever lunch with the guy. It makes me feel cool to like mention his name because he's just such a cool guy. But he was talking about his book stuff, and he was like, yeah, man, I got like 40 book ideas, like, and it's like it's distilling it down into the one you want to do. But no matter which boat you're in, this will help.
Okay.
So the 3-step process I was talking about, it starts with a basic mind map. So basically you bring out a sheet of paper, a pen, you put maybe the faint idea that you have or one of your ideas that you have in the middle of the page. And then what you do is you start graphing out all along everything you can think of for that. So especially if you're in the boat of, I don't know, I might have an idea, but like I don't know if I have enough to say about it. This will really help. So you start drawing out lines, and then maybe that sparks other stuff, and you literally just vomit everything out of your head onto the page.
Okay.
You just go out and out and out, and it'll start getting bigger and bigger, and you're doing circles and lines and connecting the dots and all that. And what most people find is when they start that, they take 15 to 30 minutes on that, and they'll start to realize just how much they know about the topic. They've got stories, they've got experiences, they've got all this. And that's when it becomes, for a lot of our like past students in our program, it was like, it went from, I could maybe write 15 pages on this to, whoa, I've got 2 to 3 books. Now I need to just figure out which one I'm going to write, which is a good thing to have.
So you're starting off with, some area of relative expertise or relative interest for this kind of mind map.
Exactly. And so if you don't even have that, what you can do is, I like to think that the best book that's inside people is usually one they don't even know they could write, because it's something that they're good at or something that's so common knowledge to them that they think it would just be idiotic to write a book about it because everyone knows that stuff. That's usually the way it is, right? Like the stuff you're truly good at, you think that just everyone knows it and that no one would want to read that book.
Yeah. we can look at Steve Scott and we can, give him a hard time, right? Like the 10,000 steps blueprint. Like, how did you come up with 15,000 words about how to walk 10,000 steps? It's go out and do it. I don't know. But the guy sells, I don't know. Obviously he's got the discipline. He does really well. So he's probably listening to this.
He'll get a kick out of it. But I mean, that's the cool thing is that there's books hidden inside you. So it helps to just ask people around you, like, what am I good at? What could I write a book about? Like that, if you're just really struggling for ideas. And then I do want to kind of address on the far end of the spectrum, if you have too many ideas, where I like to run it through is like, which book could I write the fastest? What's the fastest book I could get done? The next step, which book am I going to enjoy the most writing it? And then the third step is, which one am I most likely to finish? So if you have a lot of book ideas, that's an easy little kind of framework to run through to pick down to one. But once you have it right, you get into this mind map.
Okay.
So that's kind of the first step of this framework. And like I said, once you start spending 15, 30, 45 minutes, you're really going to see just how much you know on the topic. And you'll see a lot of groups and sections and, like sections of knowledge that it's like, oh, this all has to do with one thing. This all has to do with another and another. And then you start grouping these ideas that are on the page into sections. And then you break down those sections into individual chapters. So this leads kind of into the second step, which is you go from mind map to outline. So then you start forming into sections, you start forming into exact chapters, and then you have an outline that you can follow. And then step 3 is to start writing. And then the way we recommend doing that is you run exactly through this 3-step process again. So this was kind of a mentor shared this 3-step process with me right before I wrote my first book. And me and my brother wrote the book, and we wrote a 225-page book in a week.
Wow.
So
Whoa. Wow.
You can really make some progress with this. So basically what you do is you go back through that process that I just explained. So we did that on a big picture level. We planned out the whole book. We did the mind map, then we went into an outline, and then we had all our chapters and everything. And then for every chapter, we did 10 minutes mind mapping it. So what's everything I know about this chapter subject? Then we did 10 minutes outlining it. Okay, let's take these mind map ideas and put them in a chronological order that's going to make sense and outlining the chapter. And then we would spend 45 minutes to an hour and a half writing the chapter.
Okay.
So then we were easily able to duplicate that in 2-hour chunks, working all the way down to 1-hour chunks, just a chapter at a time.
And this is what I found too. Like once that outline is created, it's cliche to say, but like the book almost writes itself. Like it becomes kind of like a game, like where I'm just filling in the blanks, and it's super rewarding to just, okay, I'm knock this one off. And I don't even necessarily go in chronological order. I'll jump around, be like, I'm going to fill in this section, and it's, I don't know, it's kind of fun at that point.
It really is, and it's so counterintuitive because I remember when I was in English class, like in high school or college, and your professor or your teacher is like, oh, you need to do an outline.
I hated that.
That's stupid. I'm just going to start writing. Like, I'm not going to do an outline. That's dumb. And that now looking back, I realized that's why I was such an awful writer. Writing was so hard.
Yeah, I was in the same boat. It's like, oh, this is dumb. I'm just going to go and just do this brain dump. And no, but yeah, who knows? Who knew? The teachers actually knew something.
Yeah, those crazy teachers.
Okay, so that's a good formula to kind of get everything out of your head, get it outlined, and then the process of writing it, just having the discipline to go step by step and get it done. So if I was to launch a book today, I've been blessed. I've been grateful enough to have kind of amassed a little bit of an email list, a little bit of an audience here. And so if I was to launch a book today, I would just put it in 99 cents, blast out to this email list. Hey guys, as loyal followers of the Side Hustle Show, here is, your first chance to get this book. It's on a special deal for you guys only for this week or whatever. But before, when I launched the Work Smarter book, I really didn't have, or had a tiny fraction of the people that were paying attention to me then that are now. And so I decided to do this free launch. And so I'm curious what your take on it is, and kind of coaching people through this process. Does that matter? Should people do free? Should people do paid? What do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of it's kind of a per basis thing. Like for some people, it makes more sense to do free. For some people, it makes more sense to do 99 cents. We have some of our students kind of testing that out even further right now, that are launching like multiple books.
Okay.
My recommendation, if it's your first time doing a book launch, I recommend going the free route for at least the first 2 to 3 days, because I've just found that it builds up a lot of Amazon juice. Amazon starts to get friendly with your book. You start ranking in customers also bought. You get a bunch of downloads. Amazon will be more likely to send out emails on behalf of your book. It's a great way to build traffic, to get reviews. If you have bigger goals around your book, which I'd guess if you're if you're wanting to start a business or speak or coach, you probably do, then it pumps leads. You can really draw in a lot of leads. Like there's just a lot of, for me, I don't know, like some people have like a real scarcity mindset, like, oh, if I give it away for free, I'm missing out on money. But for me, it's always been like, I just want as many people to get this message as possible. So that's going to bring about so many other things, like if they hear about me or my books or whatever. So I've been a big proponent of the free launch. That being said, now that we're in the same boat as you, like building an audience, we're moving towards the 99-cent route. So that's kind of how we're doing. And we're doing some testing too. Like we're going to test out like doing a soft launch at free, and so basically putting it out there and just releasing it to free ebook sites and letting it amass a lot of free downloads without like even announcing that it's out, and then announcing that it's out on the 99-cent day. And so kind of capitalizing the best of both worlds. But we're just doing a lot of testing around that.
Okay. Any of those resources are better than others? Because like I found especially in like the free Kindle Facebook groups, it seems like there's not a lot of engagement. It seems like it's just a bunch of authors just like, promoting their own stuff. But it's like, I don't know how effective this really is.
Yeah, some of that stuff is just a spam fest.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I'll check the box, I'll do it. But
yeah,
who knows how effective it really is.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find some higher quality free ebook sites that require like a minimum number of reviews, stuff like that,
okay,
like that can be really helpful. For 99 cents, I'm sure you've probably heard of these guys. Have you heard of the Buck Books guys?
Yeah, I've got a Buck Books deal going on today, actually.
No way.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's like, so I see, a big spike on the chart today. We'll see if it it lasts for any length of time.
So Matt and those guys are really killing it. So 99-cent promos, those guys drive a ton of sales with that.
As a newbie author, can you just go to their site and sign up for, hey, put me on your next promo?
You can go and submit. It's not a guaranteed thing, okay. But you can go and submit or reach out. And it definitely helps if you have a little bit of a list, but even if you don't, they care more about the quality level of the books that they're putting out. So if you're just, as a newbie author, if you're just putting out like a crappy book when under a pen name and like, I don't know, just do it, having it like something that's not very good, they're probably not gonna do it. But if you have a decent book and something you've put some effort into, I think they're more than happy to help you out and to do the promotion there.
Okay, so that would be a good way to kind of get that initial traction. Any tactics for getting kind of that initial bank of reviews?
Hustle. I mean, I've got some tips and tricks on that, but the bottom line, what it comes down to is hustling. And I got this advice from an author early on. Is he said, I scrap for every single review I get. And I never forgot that. He said, anytime anybody emails me about my book, I see someone on the street, anything, it's like if they say a compliment about my book, I'm like, oh, awesome. Would you mind cutting and pasting that into an Amazon review?
Yeah, exactly.
Anything like that. We set up autoresponders with our books. So when they opt in for like the audio book or something like that, that works well. Also, we're big fans of personal videos. So if it's a book launch that you want to pour something into, for our first book launch, we got the book out early to friends and family and people like that so they could take a look at it. And then during launch week and right when we first launched, we were sending out a lot of 30-second personal videos, really goofy, like us playing a song and dancing on a Google Hangout, me and my co-author and business partner. And we had like the Google effects turned on. So like, like the really funny looking like cat ears and pirate eye, how it like overlays on your face.
Yeah.
You look dumb. But so we would just like thank them so much for all their support. We would do a little dance, and at the end we would just be like, hey, and the biggest thing you could do to help would leave a review. And just did a lot of those 30-second, just knocked them out in one sitting. Because I was in Austria and he was in the US when we were doing the book, so we did it on a Google Hangout.
Okay.
And we had an Excel sheet and we just went through and we're just kind of persistent on that and brought a unique personalized flair to it. But one thing that really helps is if you have specific goals. So if you said, hey, I want to, like I think for one of ours, we said, we want to get 100 by Thanksgiving because Chandler's in Austria and he's not going to be able to be with his family. So he would be really thankful if we reached, like just goofy, or my birthday's coming up and we want to get 50, or, like whatever. That helps because people feel like they have a bigger goal than just asking for a review. They can help you accomplish something.
Okay. I like that.
That works. You can do a timeline like, hey, if leave a review by the 18th, that's like the day my book launches, and really when it would be helpful. That works. Then there's also stuff like making it reversible. A lot of your good friends or readers or anyone who wants to support you, they want to write you the most glowing review ever. But the fact about Amazon is more about quantity, really, unless they're one of the first ones that gets voted up. So we would always just say, hey, if you're going to leave a review, just it can even just say like a sentence. You can always go back and change it later. I just need it by this date so that it'll help with like our launch. And so even just making it reversible, like classic sales technique, right? Like make it reversible to where they can always edit it later. And just by dropping that line, people will think, oh yeah, I can change this later. I'll just throw something in there. And normally it'll still be pretty good, like they're just trying to make it be like this amazing review.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that. I like having the outreach kind of to your personal network. Like even if you don't have a big list, I mean, what's the stat? Like the average person has 238 Facebook friends or something. Like so, there's 238 people who at least have some interest in what you're working on, who might be willing to help you out. You can hit them up for a message. I kind of like the idea of doing the goofy videos and shooting for the specific goals. Do you stress much about verified versus unverified reviews?
We don't, because a lot, it doesn't carry a lot of weight with the customers. I mean, it's unless you're an avid Amazon shopper, sometimes it matters, but we don't stress the verified stuff. But I love to your point on what you were saying. Like we had no audience when we released our first book, so we had to scrap for reviews, and it really just works well. But we encourage people giving reviews to give honest reviews, and not to. It doesn't have to be 5 stars. It doesn't have to be like. We actually discourage like exclamation points in all caps.
Yeah, don't make it sound too over. Make it be believable.
Like if the title of the review is all caps, best book ever, like a bunch of R's and a bunch of exclamation points, and then they go on to say like Nick Loper's the most amazing individual I've ever met, and so is this book. Like it's pretty obvious that it was like your mom that wrote that review, right? So
yeah, exactly.
No one gives any validity to that at all. So we like definitely discourage that.
Okay. And just for the sake of definitions, verified review is one that Amazon can, they can track the purchase of that. And so if you're giving away, free PDF copies to people in advance of the launch to get review copies and stuff, all of that is going to be unverified reviews, which in theory carries less weight in their ranking algorithms. But, for what it's worth, like they all count towards your total number of reviews, and they all look nice and shiny on the website.
Exactly.
So what's next? So you've kind of been able to leverage this publishing business into bigger and better things. So you kind of walk me through what that process has been like for you. Because like the book, I don't know, the book itself, like it can make some money, but it's not, at least in my case, and it's somewhat of a portfolio business. And with 4 titles, it's not going to get there. But it's not enough to be a full-time thing all on its own.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and this is what I think your audience will really get excited about. Is we say this all the time: is a book is not a business, but it can easily build one for you. So some people can make livings off of books. You got the man, the myth, the legend, Steve Scott.
Yes.
Bringing in 30, 50 grand, whatever, something ridiculous. Like a few $100,000 off of ebooks this past year. Like that's pretty incredible. But for a lot of people, it'll just be a nice source of passive income. But what it can do is build much bigger outside stuff. So like when I first got started, it was great. We put the first book out there, The Productive Person, what we talked about in the last podcast interview, and the book did well. It brought in close to $7,000 in the first month and continued to bring in $2,000 to $4,500 a month for like several months after. It brings in less money than that now, but it still brings in passive income. It's the beauty of Amazon is you do work once and you get paid on it forever. So it's great.
That's the dream, man. That's the dream.
It's the passive income. Robert Kiyosaki, you read about it in Rich Dad Poor Dad, like dream about passive income. And it's like, yeah, wow, this is actually possible, right? But I think what you're hinting at and what your people will really like that are listening to this is, you can use it to open up so many more doors. Like a book has become a business card in today's world. Like business cards, everybody has them. And if you think about it, like when someone hands you a business card, you usually eventually throw it away. But like, when's the last time you've thrown away a book?
Right.
Like most people don't do that. So like, who would you rather do business with? Someone who hands you a business card or someone who hands you a book and then autographs it, right? Like you're going to at least, even if you don't read it, respect them a little more, and you're going to put that book in your office or at your house just because you feel bad about throwing it away.
Yeah,
or at least
especially if they signed it, then I feel bad about it away.
Just feel really just insulting. So, but you think about it, anytime you see that book, you think of them, and it's kind of like a glorified business card and a networking piece. But also, if you want to build speaking or coaching, it's a platform. You're now a best-selling author on a certain title. Like for us, it was time management, and we beat out David Allen's Getting Things Done. Like that's a calling card. That's like the reason I was able to get on your podcast to begin with, because I had like something to hang my hat on. I wasn't just like, hey, I'm Chandler and you should interview me.
Right.
So it's a calling card for people. But then the beauty that I like about it is there's a huge opportunity to upsell other products on the back end, and you can just use it as a huge lead pump for your business. So whether you have a local service-based business or whether you have an online business, you can use it to really pump leads. That's what we've done really well. And it's basically tapping into, we've talked about this a little before, it's tapping into the hundreds of millions, if not billion plus buyers on the Amazon store and kind of funneling them out through your book onto your list and into your business. So like we use the Productive Person to build it's brought in 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 leads over the past year, or maybe a little over a year since that book came out, all from one little book on Amazon. And which is like pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I think I use that as an example in my Kindle course, Kindle launch course.com. Now, and you guys were giving the giveaway like free audiobook, right? And it was visible in the preview. And so people could go there and say, shoot, I don't even have to buy this book. I can just get the free audiobook version in exchange for my email. Like I'm going to make that trade.
Yeah.
And so that's driven a ton of signups. Any other lead magnets that have worked particularly well in these titles?
Oh, Nick, that's my secret sauce. Your audience members have got to keep that one a secret, or just go buy your course so they can learn more about it. No, that's the one that converts like crazy. We get 50 to 70% of book buyer leads on that, and
on the audiobook.
Yeah. Because everyone else is doing it just so wrong. They're doing like a 77 steps or whatever checklist, and they just do a PDF opt-in at the beginning of the book, and it's kind of like banner blindness. Like people see that and they just automatically assume it's crappy, and so they don't opt in. But when they see an audio book, they're like, wow, Nick, I just paid $3 for your ebook and you're telling me you're going to give me a $10 audio book as well? Like now I already love you, and you just accomplished one of my goals, which was not actually having to read this book because now I can just pop it in and listen to it in the car on the way to work. So like they're more likely to get through it. Now they're in your funnel. They're hearing about your other products. It's just like so much more attractive. And then what you touched on is people can click look inside so they can opt in without even buying your book, which is pretty awesome because the email list is really where the money's at.
Did you record it yourself, or did you have somebody do the recording?
I didn't. I had we had somebody. We always pick someone off Vlance.
Okay.
So actually, as this podcast is being recorded, we have a guy recording the ebook for our newest, or the audiobook for our newest ebook on how to launch books, and how to write, market, and publish books.
It's so meta.
Yeah. But it's very cheap, and they're professionals. I think the thing that not a lot of people realize, like I've heard some people recommend going through ACX, which is like an Audible platform, but we found that you can kind of get ripped off that way, and you end up paying too much money. So
I thought it was free up front.
It depends on the way you do it. You can do a rev share, like a percentage of revenue, or you can pay them a flat fee. I've heard of people doing it both ways.
Okay.
But they're normally going to want a decent percentage, and then you have issues with the rights of the book and just stuff like that. So we got our first book recorded. This guy was a pro. He's done stuff for NBC Sports, Walmart, Pfizer, like all these big companies, and he did it for $450.
Okay.
You know, and our audiobook that's being recorded now, he's $380 something, and that's a 32,000 word ebook, and the guy's voice is awesome. Like, he's a pro. So it's really amazing the prices you can get for the quality.
Yeah, that seems really cheap for 32,000 words. It's a pretty lengthy tome for nonfiction.
Yeah, it is kind of long, but yeah,
but there's a lot of stuff to cover. No, that's cool. Let me ask you about you kind of scoring these like public speaking things. Has this become a big part of your business?
It hasn't. I like doing it right now. It's kind of one of those time for money things, so like, just like speaking and coaching, like you're limited to scale the business by how much time you have. Mm-hmm. So it's been awesome, and I love doing it when I do it. But right now we're focusing more on like scaling up the actual business. So we're drawing back the coaching and drawing back the speaking. But that's something that one day I definitely want to get more into. It's just I see it as a long-term play as well. But it is fun. It's landed me some speaking gigs, and you get to go talk to people about your book and about your stuff. Like, it's awesome.
And so the business is the self-publishing school?
Yeah, that's what a lot of because for us, that's maximum leverage. We can go one to many, and we can teach a lot of people how to do this stuff that's really going to change their lives. And that's how we do it is through that platform.
Do you find the people like who signed up for your list, like, hey, I signed up for, productivity related things, and now I'm being marketed to for self-publishing school stuff?
Yeah. No, it's interesting. We don't pound them over the head with it. It's just kind of like hey, here it is if you want it. Okay. But it is funny. You would think like the productivity stuff has nothing to do with books, but we actually got some of our best clients from the book, and it was so organic because they said, well, I saw your book and it was your first book, and I saw what that did for you, and I wanted to do that. So when you came back around about this self-publishing school, like, yeah, that sounded really awesome, because the reason I know about you is because of your book. And it was like, whoa, I would never have made that connection.
Yeah. It's like, hey, been there, done that. And, and here we are.
Yeah.
Any other parting words of turning the book into a business?
Into a business. The one thing I think that if people are on the fence about writing a book, or maybe they've thought about doing it for a long time and never have done it, the one piece that hits me more than, like, we talked about glorified business card, pumping leads into your business. We talked about, using it to build your platform for speaking and coaching. Like, obviously there's tons of ways to monetize, but I think there's one thing that isn't talked about a lot that is really an awesome benefit. And it's kind of funny to like say out loud, but for me, it was so cool seeing how proud my parents were of me when I did this book, and like how they're telling all their friends about it. And like, then even my friends, how they would just send me Facebook messages and text and calls like about my book, and how they thought I was just so cool because I did it. And there's just I don't know, there's something about it. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that, but if we're really being honest, like, it feels really cool getting all that attention and feeling like you just had a success. Like, that's the coolest part for me with our program, is like seeing students. It's like we said at the top of the interview, it's not about the book, it's what the book can do for you. And a big part of that is growing your confidence. And it's like a stepping stone to like, okay, I can do this on this level. What else can I do? Like, start looking bigger and bigger, and your confidence gets up, and then it's just a huge confidence booster to propel you on to like bigger and better things.
I love it. I love it. Chandler, thanks so much for joining me. Last year, I asked for your number one tip for Side Hustle Nation, and you said complete the process instead of perfecting the product. You want to touch on that again, or would you change your answer in 2015?
Oh, that's great, man. I can't believe that's some great digging on your part. And even just hearing you say that, it gets me fired up. Because like I would say exactly that. Like we're talking about book stuff that's so relevant. Like so when we launched self-publishing school the first time, we just like with a productive person, we just threw it out there, you know. Will people buy this? We know we can make it awesome. We sold it, we had nothing, and then we built it and had just huge success rates with our students, everything. So we completed the process, we got it launched, and then we hustled to make everything happen, and everyone was really happy with it. And the same is true with the book. Like that's what we teach in the program is like complete the process, don't perfect the product. So press publish on your book. You know, if you're thinking about doing it, don't waste time, you know, just do it and put it out there and then see what happens. Because you're going to learn so much more from putting it out there and gauging feedback than you will about planning and trying to make it the best book that you're ever going to write. Because I'm sure, as you know, Nick, like your first book probably wasn't the best one that you've done, and you've done much better ones since then. So just completing that process, you're able to make it so much better.
Yeah, nothing I've written has been the great American novel just yet. But you know, I feel like my writing is improving because it's a practice, and I really like that. And now I'm motivated to go and get some of this half finished stuff off the hard drive and and complete the process.
Heck yeah!
Instead of making it the world's most perfect thing. Awesome, Chandler. Thanks so much. We'll have links and everything in the show notes at sidehustlenation.com/91, I think it is, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Nick.
If you want to learn more about Kindle publishing, I encourage you to check out my course on the topic at kindlelaunchcourse.com. That link will get you a nice discount to it, and I'm able to go into much more detail there than what we could cover on the show. And another excellent resource is Chandler's new book, which is called Book Launch, and I'll link to that in the show notes at sidehustlenation.com/91. And over there, you'll also find a free downloadable PDF with all my notes and highlights from the call, along with Chandler's top Kindle tips on everything that we talked about. Now, if you want to learn more about Chandler's self-publishing school, it's at self-publishingschool.com, and I'm going to link to that in the show notes as well. Now, I am an affiliate for the program, so if you're considering joining, I hope you'll consider doing so through my link. It is a premium product, but from what I can see, his students are seeing a lot of success with it. So there's something to it there. You know, here's a weird thing about Kindle. Like there's a few well-known, notable exceptions, right? Like Steve Scott that we talked about, and a few other authors. But beside that, there seems to be more money in teaching people how to Kindle, how to make money on Amazon, than in doing it themselves. And I'll be the first to admit it because I've seen this firsthand. In the first month of my last book launch, for example, the author royalties earned $1,400 in sales, and then another so ever much from borrows, and that was awesome. And it's continued to earn passive income every day since then. So I don't want to downplay that at all. It's been really, really cool. But the Udemy course I created, which covers how to launch your nonfiction book, it kind of walks through that process. It earned over $2,500 in the first month. So there's more money. It's a weird balance between finding some success and then turning around and selling the blueprint to that success. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. In fact, maybe that's a good business model for me. Now I'll turn around and make a how to make money on Udemy course, and I'll share how I made that. But just to keep the cycle spinning. So I don't know. It's just something I felt like it was worth mentioning. So, anyways, that's it for the show. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, let's go out there and make something happen. And I'll see you next week in episode 92. It's a really good one. You're not going to want to miss it. Until then, hustle on.
Thanks for listening to The Side Hustle Show at www.sidehustlenation.com.